Hello everyone, and thanks for watching my video presentation, which is, as you can see, titled Growing to Great. Before anyone can be a great leader, first we must learn to lead. Leadership is a process, according to every definition of leadership I've ever read, including the typical Northhouse definition, a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. Leadership does not happen overnight. One of my favorite ways to describe one style is that it is taking what's in your glass and putting it into someone else's. There are many different styles of leadership, but all styles are the same in that they are all a process. This process, which can be composed of many different facets, is what must happen before a leader becomes, quote, great. With the many different styles of leadership, each leader has equal opportunities to become what I like to call being characteristically great. You'll understand this more later on in the presentation. Great leaders are focused and confident. Great leaders are transparent, being 100% authentic all the time. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery, except when it comes to being a leader. Leaders are open and sometimes flawed, but always passionate. Leaders have patience, which is courage that tests the commitment to their cause. Referees are taught to be decisive, to make a decision, to make it fast and loud, and not to look back. Leaders must be able to do the same. Leaders also need to be open-minded and personable, as well as insightful. Leaders must have good communication skills and be able to empower others. What about the good leaders? What is the difference between good and great? The Harvard Business Review recently published an article on exactly this subject. The author Bailey stated, great leaders excite and energize and also stimulate. He also continued to say, great has no inherent moral compass, and thus its unpredictable potency can just as easily be put towards pugilistic and peaceful purposes. Good is not as captivating as great. Good leaders are concerned with doing the right thing, whereas great leaders can be malfeasant. Without good leadership to hold great leadership accountable, the unthinkable really could take place. Good leadership should not be overlooked. The coexistence of the two is the best hope for leadership. Throughout all the self-assessments I've taken thus far, I've scored the highest on servant leadership. In 6 of the 7 categories, I scored in the high range, or I strongly exhibited each of those servant leadership characteristics or behaviors. Behaving ethically, I scored 28, which is the highest possible score. This is the area in which I'm the strongest in my leadership. I believe in making ethical or moral decisions over making business savvy or relationship risking decisions that would even put me a step ahead of the competition. Helping a subordinate achieve is also an area in which I scored very high in. I'm a coach. It is therefore, I believe, my job to help my players achieve the highest level of success possible. Another approach I scored well on, to my surprise, was in the path goal theory under the directive style. I scored 35. 28 is considered high. I have never been in a position which allowed me to be a directive leader in my career. However, when considering the characteristics of being a directive leader, it is similar to what a teacher must do or be. They set clear standards of performance, they set rules, they give timelines, and they give clear instructions. When considering the way I coach and my background in education, I did begin to see these characteristics within myself. Of the several self-assessments I took, one described my personality extremely accurately, the human metric system. I highly, highly recommend taking this assessment. If you did not take this before you completed this task that we're doing right now, then I recommend that you go back and do it. It is the most accurate one I have ever taken, and I felt like it described me so well. And honestly, I feel like I learned so much about myself by taking this assessment, and I feel like I understand myself better. Which, to be able to be a good leader, we need to be able to understand and know ourselves. And so I think that this helped me so much in my development as a leader. The human metric assessment labeled me as ENPF, or extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. They were described as both idea people and people people. Some of the characteristics were as follows: affectionate, demonstrative, and spontaneous. They want to be liked and admired by all. ENFPs work best in groups. They're pleasant, friendly, and interact in a positive manner with coworkers and the public. It also talked about how they will be extremely professional and put together, but at appropriate times seem to be able to flip a switch and turn into the, quote, typical wild child. Also discussed was how their brains like to go in 100 different directions constantly. If this does not describe me, then I have never heard anything that does. This, like I said, was the most accurate assessment I have ever done, and it was really quite scary how spot on they were. I threw in this chart at the bottom because I liked how they labeled the ENFPs as a champion. I just thought that that was cool. And for those of you that did take this assessment, this will be a neat chart for you to look at and see what they label you as well. My strengths. I am a people person. I enjoy working with, interacting with, and spending time with people. Building strong and lasting relationships is a high priority to me. Along with this is the ability to communicate and listen, which are both crucial parts of building relationships. You cannot build them without these things. With each member of the teams I have worked with, I have strived to create professional relationships with them where I get to know them on a level that goes beyond who they are just on the court, not as an athlete anymore, but as a person as well. I'm always available for them. I'm always available to them to be an ear to listen, and I'm also willing to give advice when it's needed. I strive to put others first throughout my daily walk. For example, I make myself available to the team for individual lessons every day, despite having to manage all my other areas of responsibility as well. This also equates to caring for people. I genuinely want to do all I can to help those I am leading to achieve success in all they pursue. Passion is one of my strengths as well, and is something that comes naturally to me. Lastly, what I regard as being my greatest strength is my moral and ethical compass, which guides me throughout all my decision making. I will never compromise my values or beliefs merely to achieve success. Areas of growth. And we all have plenty of that we can do. Within the human metric assessment, it noted several areas in which the ENFPs can grow. And these are all areas that I know I can improve my leadership abilities in. For example, procrastination, as well as not being focused on small details, is one of the things that they labeled as an area we can improve in. Unfortunately, this is very true of my personality. I'll put off tasks until they absolutely must be done, and even more so if I do not see the importance of the task. I also need to be more detail-oriented. When taking the style approach inventory in Northhouse's book Leadership, this became very apparent to me. I do not focus on details, which can cause me to appear unorganized or unprepared, both of which are unprofessional in areas I plan to improve on. How am I going to fix this? My plan of action. Procrastination is the hardest area of growth to resolve. I plan to resolve my procrastination by placing my focus on why the task at hand is important. Even if it is just a menial one, I'll focus on why it is important and learn to see how it applies to the end goal. Also, a way I can plan to help myself overcome procrastination and my unorganized nature is by taking advantage of using a planner. By writing down items, it will help me to remember that they need to be done. I also will be able to prioritize them in the order and the color that I write them. I love to color code things. That helps me become very much more organized. I plan to train myself to become more detail and task oriented, which will also be partially accomplished by utilizing a planner as well as making lists for the days, weeks, and even months to help myself get very organized and prioritize things. I will also not allow myself to try and multitask, despite the directions that my brain likes to go in at one time. I will focus on one task until that task is completed. When I'm able to better organize and better manage myself, I will be able to lead others in a much more effective way. Accomplishing all of these goals will ensure that I am growing and working to become a better leader. Thank you guys for watching my video presentation. If you have any questions for me, let me know. And I look forward to watching all of your videos and reading all of your comments.